This story was sent in by Nessie, a university student from Thailand, who never imagined a simple phone number could become a bridge to something beyond. Dusk had just settled as Nessie made her way home from campus. The air was thick and damp, still holding onto the rain from earlier that afternoon. Puddles lingered in the cracks of the narrow street, while the sky shifted from a fading orange to a deep, shadowy violet. The path she usually took felt quieter than usual. A few streetlights were out, leaving behind only the swaying silhouettes of trees stirred by the breeze. The soft rustle of leaves brushing against one another created an almost rhythmic sound, subtle but unsettling in the quiet of the evening. That day, Nessie hadn't planned on buying a new SIM card, but with an out-of-town trip coming up, a group vacation with her classmates, she thought it'd be easier to keep her private number separate from the group's planning. So she stopped by a small kiosk near the campus gate, a place often recommended for being fast and convenient. "Just something cheap for calls and texts," she said to the middle-aged man behind the counter. He said little, offering only a faint smile as he nodded and pulled a SIM card from a dusty drawer. The plastic wrap was old and slightly yellowed, but still sealed. "This one's an old number, but it's still active. No one's ever used it," he said. Nessie didn't think much of it. It was cheap, didn't require any complicated registration, and could be used right away. She paid in cash, pocketed the small package, and continued her walk back to the dorm. Back in her room, Nessie sat on her bed and opened the back cover of her old phone. Like most phones commonly used in Asia, hers had 2 SIM card slots, one for her main number and the other for backup use. She slipped the new card into the second slot. The moment she closed the cover, the phone began to vibrate violently. Suddenly, the screen lit up, casting a pale glow across her lap. An incoming call. Unknown number. The digits were unusually long, unfamiliar, no country code she recognized. Her heart skipped. There was no reason to feel uneasy, and yet something in her gut told her to answer. With hesitation, Nessie picked up the call. There was a burst of static, brief, sharp, and then a voice, a woman's voice. But there was something cold in it, something that slid into her ears like a blade of ice.
"You're using my number."
Then silence. The call ended as if it had never happened. Nessie froze. Her breath caught in her chest. She stared at the phone's screen, now blank, back to the home screen. Just another call. Just another glitch, perhaps. That's what she tried to tell herself. But deep down, she knew. Something had just begun. At first, Nessie thought it was nothing more than a glitch, a leftover quirk from some old system that was still somehow active, a harmless hiccup. But slowly that doubt began to twist into something else, unease, discomfort, and then fear. Strange messages began to arrive, randomly, without pattern, but they weren't just spam or promotions. They were specific, too close. The first one made her skin crawl. She was alone that afternoon, sitting in a wooden chair on the second floor of the campus library. The place was nearly empty, save for the low hum of an old fan and the soft rustling of pages. Then, her phone buzzed. A new message. Sitting on the wooden chair, second floor reading room. Nessie's head snapped up. She looked around. No one near. No one watching. No one even remotely close enough to type something like that unnoticed. It felt like being stared at. by something she couldn't see. She told herself it had to be a guess, a coincidence, someone playing a prank. But 2 nights later, another message arrived. This time, it was worse. Nessie was in her room. It was late, past midnight. Every window and door was locked. She was lying in bed, trying to sleep under the dim yellow glow of her desk lamp. The air was still, silent. Her phone buzzed softly beside her. A new message. Lying on your right side, black t-shirt, phone in hand. Her breath caught. Heart racing, she sat up immediately, phone clutched in both hands. She scanned the room, the corners, the ceiling, behind the curtains. Nothing. No camera. No person. Just the feeling. That same cold weight pressing against her chest. Like someone was watching, not through glass, not from a screen, but from the shadows. Then came the photo. Just one. And it was enough. She was standing on her balcony last night, not posed, not aware. The image was candid, frozen from a distance. The angle wasn't from inside her building. It wasn't from the floor above or the one below. It was taken from across the street, from somewhere she had never been. Nessie started locking her door twice. She closed her curtains before sunset, but it didn't matter. The feeling remained that somewhere, something was watching, and it had her number. She had thought about removing the SIM card, ripping it out and throwing it as far away as possible. But every time she came close to doing it, something made her hesitate. One night, as she tried to slide the card out of her phone, the lights in her room suddenly went out. Everything went dark, except her phone screen, which stayed lit. A single notification appeared. Don't remove it. Another time, she tried to leave the SIM card behind at a bus stop. She placed the phone down, stepped back and turned away. But it rang. Loud. The screen lit up with an unknown number. Again. She ignored it, but the ringing didn't stop. It called again, and again, and again, until the people nearby began to stare, their curious eyes making her chest tighten. She picked it up. The ringing stopped. Even during ordinary calls with friends, something felt wrong. Sometimes, she heard faint sounds weaving their way into the line, like breathing, right next to the microphone. At other times, it was the soft scuff of footsteps or whispers, muffled, unintelligible murmurs, slipping into the silence between her words. It was as if the card was holding something, not just a number, but a presence, or maybe a will, and for some reason it did not want to be let go. On the 7th night, as the rain drizzled softly onto the rooftop of her boarding house, the first voice message arrived. Just one. From the same number as the very first call, the one with the cold, flat voice that had somehow etched itself into Nessie's memory. With a mix of curiosity and fear, Nessie opened the message. The voice returned. That same woman. But this time it spoke longer, slower, like someone telling a story from the shadows.
I used to live in this city. Rented a room near the old train station. I disappeared that night, walking home from the mini-market. No one ever found me. They thought I ran away. But I'm still here, still trying to speak.
Nessie froze. The voice wasn't trembling, wasn't crying, but every word landed with quiet weight, like it wasn't coming from far away, but from somewhere very close. This wasn't just a message, it was a presence. Every night after that, the voice messages came again. Same number, same voice. Each time the story continued, about a life once lived, about a growing coldness, about the footsteps she heard behind her, but never saw.
They say I'll never come back, but as long as my number still exists, someone can still hear me.
Nessie began writing down every detail from the voice messages. The woman's voice wasn't random. It was trying to form something, a thread, a full narrative of a death that had never been solved. Sometimes the messages were barely 10 seconds. Other times they stretched into 2 long minutes. But always they felt the same, like she was sitting right in front of Nessie, with eyes that couldn't be seen, yet somehow pierced straight through her soul. What chilled Nessie the most came with the 4th message.
You hear me, don't you? You're the only one who can now. Please don't ignore me. I just want to be remembered.
The voice didn't seem to come from the phone anymore. It was inside her head, as if the device had become irrelevant. And now, there was a space inside her thoughts that had been pried open, a quiet, invisible passage, and the voice was using it. Nessie began searching for answers, any way she could think of. Using reverse lookup apps, she entered the long string of numbers that had been calling her. The results were always the same: unknown, unregistered, or unavailable. She turned to online forums, the kind that discussed strange tech phenomena and supernatural encounters. In a thread titled Ghost Numbers, she posted her story anonymously, hoping someone, anyone, had experienced something similar. She also visited several mobile provider branches around the city. Each time the response was the same: a shrug, a puzzled look, or a hesitant smile. No one could explain the origin of the number. Even when she showed them the call logs, the staff would murmur things like, "Sometimes the system just glitches like that," or "the data's corrupted, expired, can't really trace it." She was hitting dead ends, and with each one, the frustration grew. Then one night, the voice message came again. Same woman, but the tone had shifted. There was a quiet despair, raw and trembling beneath the calm words.
I've been alone for too long. They can't hear me. But you can. Please, keep listening.
The next morning, Nessie received a reply on the forum she had posted on. It was from a user with the screen name Watcher. No profile picture, no bio, just a single message beneath her thread. Those numbers, they've appeared before, in unsolved cases. Many of the missing, those whose bodies were never found, had either dialed those numbers or received calls from them. Attached to the reply were links to old news articles, long buried beneath the digital dust of time, and screenshots of call logs pulled from cold case files. As Nessie opened the files, her skin began to crawl. The numbers listed in those logs, they matched perfectly, line by line, identical to the calls she had received. The longer Nessie kept the SIM card in her phone, the more real the disturbances began to feel. The voice wasn't just in recordings anymore. Sometimes, late at night in her dimly lit room, she could swear it was whispering directly into her ear. Soft, cold, and too close. One night, while washing her face in the shared bathroom of her boarding house, she heard it again. A soft tapping, like fingertips brushing against the mirror. She looked up. Nothing. But she felt it. a presence behind her watching, just beyond the reflection. That was the night Nessie decided she couldn't do it anymore. She removed the SIM card and tucked it away in a drawer. She didn't throw it out. Some part of her couldn't, but she stopped using it. After that, the disturbances began to fade, not disappear completely, just quiet down, like something still breathing behind a wall, waiting. Nessie thought it was over. The silence that followed felt like relief, but curiosity, like a splinter beneath the skin, refused to leave her alone. She took her call log and printed out the list of the most frequent incoming numbers. The staff member assisting her seemed confused, his eyes scanning the screen, then narrowing. He checked again and again. These numbers, some of them aren't in our system, he finally said, puzzled. It's like they appear for a moment, then vanish. His answer only deepened the unease that had never fully left her. As Nessie stepped out of the office, she sat in the parking lot for a long time, her phone resting heavy in her hand. Something inside her whispered what she already feared. This wasn't over. Not yet. Back at her boarding house, the restlessness grew. She looked up one of the numbers, the one that had appeared the most, and the result made her blood run cold. The number had once been registered under the name of a woman who had disappeared years ago. Her case had never been solved. Her phone was never found. When Nessie searched deeper, she found the woman's last known photo. And the face. It looked exactly like the one that had haunted her dreams. That's when she began to truly believe. This SIM card wasn't just a tool for communication. It was a window, or maybe a portal, to where she still didn't know, but the dead, those who hadn't found peace, seemed to use these numbers to speak, to whisper things they never got to say. Or perhaps it was more than that. Maybe they were reaching out, trying to bring her to the place they were trapped in. Maybe every missed call was an invitation, and if she ever answered just one more, she might never come back. Nessie thought everything was finally clear, but the quiet nights and the phone that sometimes still lit up on its own kept her uneasy. She knew this wasn't just a random glitch. She knew something had tried to speak to her, and she had chosen not to answer. After everything that happened, Nessie decided to lock the SIM card away in a drawer, hoping that would be the end of it. But one night, she checked the call log again. There was one number, the one that had appeared the most. She searched it online. It belonged to a woman who had gone missing years ago. The case was never solved, and her face looked exactly like the one that had appeared in Nessie's dreams. Nessie never picked up a single call, and now it's been more than a week since anything came through. Silence, but not the comforting kind. The kind of silence that feels like something is waiting to return. At first, Nessie still couldn't shake the feeling, until one day her classmate Rafi accidentally saw the old call log on her phone. He listened quietly as Nessie told him everything. Then, after a long pause, he said, "Sometimes, all they want is attention, but once you stop giving it to them, they'll stop too." Following his advice, Nessie decided to let it go, completely. She snapped the SIM card in half and threw it into the campus trash. No ceremony, no drama, just done. The days that followed were full. Assignments, classes, student groups. The more she focused on her real life, the more the disturbances faded. Now, even in the quiet of night, her phone no longer lights up on its own. Maybe it's because Nessie refused to be a vessel for a story that was never meant to end. Maybe it's because she had heard enough. And this story, it's not meant to scare you. It's just a reminder. If one day you buy an old SIM card or find a used one lying on the street, don't rush to use it. And if you start getting calls from numbers you don't recognize, especially the ones that keep coming back, don't get curious.